What motivates me? I mean, I don't really need motivation. I just kind of do what I do.
There's a rule in sports that almost everyone believes that if you're talented, you need to keep going, and if you're winning, you need to push harder. And if the world tells you that you're destined for greatness, then you don't walk away. But sometimes someone does, and that is Alysa Liu was supposed to be the future of American figure skating. At just 13 years old, she became the youngest US national champion in history. The media called her a prodigy, and the commentators said that she was the next big thing. Fans believed they were watching the rise of a future Olympic legend. Everything was going exactly the way a champion story is supposed to go. Until one day, she shocked everyone at just 16 years old. Right when her career was beginning to explode, she walked away from the sport completely. There's no scandal, no injury forcing her to quit. She simply said that she was done, and suddenly the skating world was left asking one question: why would someone give up everything right when they were about to have it all? But what makes this story even stranger is what happened next, because sometimes walking away is only the beginning. Every sport has the one athlete who arrives earlier than expected. The kind of talent that makes people stop and say, wait, how old is she again? That's exactly what happened with Alysa Liu. Born in California in 2005, Alyssa didn't grow up in a typical sports environment. Her father believed deeply in discipline and education, but also independence. He didn't just want his children to succeed, he wanted them to think for themselves, and that mindset would later shape one of the most unusual decisions in modern sports. When Alessa stepped onto the ice as a young child, coaches quickly noticed something different. She wasn't afraid because most beginner skaters hesitate before difficult jumps. They second guess themselves, but Alyssa approached the sport with curiosity rather than fear. And sometimes that's the secret behind prodigies. They don't overthink, they simply try. By the time she reached her early teens, Alessa was performing jumps that even seasoned competitors struggled to land. Her technical ability was remarkable, but what really stood out was her attitude. She looked like she was enjoying herself, not performing under pressure, and just skating. In 2022, Alyssa announced she was retiring from competitive skating. The reaction was immediate, fans were shocked, and commentators were confused. Some people even wondered if something terrible had happened behind the scenes, but the truth was much simpler. Alyssa Liu said that she felt satisfied with what she had already achieved. She didn't want to keep chasing medals just because everyone expected her to. For many people, the idea felt impossible to understand because our culture teaches us something very specific about success. If you're good at something, then you should keep going forever. But Alessa quietly challenged that belief, stepped away from the spotlight, and just like that, the prodigy disappeared. When Alyssa Liu returned to skating, something felt different. The pressure that once surrounded her seemed to disappear because this time she wasn't skating to meet expectations. She was skating because she wanted to. Unlike her initial years of intense training and constant pressure, this comeback had a completely different feeling. It was on her own terms. Instead of chasing perfection every day, Alyssa focused on something many athletes forget: enjoyment, creative freedom, the simple feeling on gliding across the ice. Skating became fun again. Not stressful, not overwhelming, and just something she loved doing. And sometimes that change in mindset can transform everything. Because when someone is no longer afraid of losing, they become much more powerful.
Won this one. I don't care if I'm not going to win the next one. Like, it just doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. I mean, I was really happy, but also, like, I know it matters to a lot of people, but it didn't matter too much to me. You know what I'm saying?
Fans noticed it immediately. Her performance looked lighter, more expressive, and more alive. It was the same athlete, but a completely different energy. And suddenly, people realized something important: that maybe Alyssa Liu's story was never about medals. Maybe it was about freedom. In sports, we usually define success in a very simple way, right? Medals, records, and trophies. But Alyssa Liu's journey challenges that definition because she did something very few athletes ever dared to do. She walked away when the world expected her to stay, and when she returned, she came back on her own terms, not for pressure, not for fame, but for joy. And in a strange way, that might be the most powerful lesson her story offers. That sometimes the bravest decision isn't pushing harder, sometimes it's stepping back, reclaiming your passion, and remembering that success means nothing if you're not actually happy. The story of Alysa Liu isn't just about figure skating, it's about something many people experience in their own lives, the pressure to keep chasing success even when it stops feeling meaningful. But Alyssa reminds us of something simple. You don't always have to follow the script the world writes for you, because sometimes the real victory is choosing your own story.